Hey everybody, and welcome back to NiagaraWineVideos.com, where I bring you the story behind Niagara's finest wines. And we're sitting here again with Jeff. Am I pronouncing it right? 100 Mark?
100 Mark.
Just like your micro wine, is that what we call it here? Or,
my virtual winery?
Virtual winery,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, 100 Marks, yeah.
Yeah, that's so clever and cheeky at the same time, right? The first wine here we're going to get into is a Syrah from the 2007 vintage. I'm just going to show you the label and get away, Jeff, if you want to just introduce it here.
Sure. Syrah, the grape variety that nobody said we could do in this region, or that we shouldn't be doing in this region. We seem to be doing rather well, and I'm not just referring to Marynissen, but I'm talking about the entire region as a whole. Syrah is in my opinion, is one of those grape varieties that will do really well here. Has shown that it'll do really well here because it has a real distinctive character to it. The Syrah in Australia and other hot regions, which is called Shiraz, tends to be very jammy, very big, full body, but not a whole lot of backbone to it. And Syrah grown in a cooler climate, much like Niagara, much like the southern France and middle France. Syrah grown there tends to have much more character, and we talked about with that solstice about having some garrigue character, that southern Rhone or southern France herbaceousness. The Syrah is the key component to that. And Syrah in Niagara, and you can go to every producer of Syrah in the area and find exactly what it is. Everybody identifies the spiciness, so you get a real white pepper, okay, or that white pepper powder. But the other thing you get is a real green tobacco, right. like a pipe tobacco, like your grandfather used to smoke.
And smell and taste. Right?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that really stands out to me in all the Syrah in Niagara is green tobacco and white pepper.
Right. Yeah. And even some of the herbs you're talking about, like I think you said, did you say lavender?
Yeah, lavender and thyme and
you smell all that
sage.
in the nose, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
So let's get into the wine here. What do you get on the nose of this one?
I'm getting lavender, sage, thyme,
yeah,
white pepper, and tobacco.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny, but it's true.
Yeah. No, the fruit. I mean, the first thing that comes to me, and I'm not just saying this, but the first thing that comes to me is tobacco. The second thing that's coming to me on this is deep fruit, like plums, like deep black fruit, plums. Okay. As the wine ages a little bit, turns into prune, has a bit of a prune character or a date character to it. But right now I'm sensing, sort of plum, maybe a little bit of cherry as well, like dark black cherry.
Right, yeah.
In there as well.
Yeah, it's nice. I get a meatiness when I smell it. Right?
Yeah.
A meaty. I get a little bit blueberry, but I could be wrong there.
Yeah, absolutely, sure. There's no wrong descriptors when you're talking about wine. People tend to try to label wines or label grape varieties as, Cabernet Sauvignon has to have cassis, has to have eucalyptus, or mint, has to have the smokiness to it. Merlot has to have blueberry and raspberry and
milk chocolate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Pinot Noir has got to be barnyard.
Right.
But you know what? It really is. It's what the consumer or the person who's tasting the wine, what they remember as in their sensory memory.
Right.
So if this smells to you like craft dinner, then damn it, it's craft dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
That's your identifier for it.
And sometimes you're right that whatever you have on your mind might convince you that that's what the wine smells like, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
I often think that.
Yeah, there's all kinds of triggers in wine tasting, in your wine memory, and in all of it, almost all of it goes back to your kitchen, your mom's kitchen, or in some cases to experiences you've had where maybe you're in. It smells like the basement you had in your house.
Yeah.
when you were 5 years old.
Yeah.
And it's not a terrible smell, but it's there's a sort of a mustiness to it.
Yeah, right.
Mustiness
Yeah. And I was going to actually talk about it. Does have a little mustiness to it.
Yeah.
This wine as well. Right?
Absolutely.
And is that just for how long it was aged in the barrel, or was that something? Does that stay with the wine? Does that go away? Does that?
All the flavors and all the components of a wine go in these peaks and valleys.
Right.
And sometimes they're very prominent.
Yeah.
And then you could taste it another 2 months down the road, and it's now below your threshold. And
Yeah.
you don't really taste it, or you don't really sense it. And that's what the life cycle is of wine. It's a volatile substance.
Right.
Alcohol makes it very volatile. Alcohol can enhance and peak something, but can also suppress it. So, it goes through these cycles in its life, and you want it to obviously stay more on the up for a longer period of time.
Right.
That's the key, or that's the goal. But just identifying the fact that the wine you're tasting today, 2 months down the road, might taste a little bit different, and there's nothing
Right.
wrong with that.
Right.
But that's just how a wine progresses.
In your opinion, I know this is kind of a hard question to answer. If you're talking about like varietal specific, if you're just talking about Syrah or you're just talking about Cabernet Sauvignon, when you have a good vintage year, it's a very tannic wine at first. You think you should age it for a little bit before drinking it. Is there a time when you think, when you're talking about how a wine goes in and out, shuts down, comes back to life, shuts down? Is there a time period, like say, in the middle somewhere, I've heard, where a wine which will shut down and you shouldn't really touch it for those in between years, and then maybe like when it gets past that hump older, so around the 10-year mark now, it would have been so much better than if you drank it when it was 5 years, but maybe if you drank it when it was 3 years, it would be better than when it was 5. Does that make any sense to you?
It makes perfect sense to you, Brad, and you know what, it's that's an individual thing with every wine, and not even necessarily a grape variety, but every wine produced in a particular year has these peaks and valleys.
Really?
And if a wine is peaking, if the winemaker or the sommelier or whoever it is, the expert,
Right.
who's giving you this advice and telling
Taste
you,
the wine.
who's telling you what you should and shouldn't be smelling in this, and how long you should hold it for, and what you should eat it
Right.
with. If they're telling you in 5 years this wine will reach its peak, chances are in that 1 to 5 year, in the 1 to 5 years, it's going to have peaks and valleys, and there's going to be times where you're going, wow, what's he talking about?
Right.
That wine is not very good. Oh, wait a second, there it is. It's good again.
Right.
So my advice to everybody is to buy more than one bottle. If you're aging wine,
Right.
buy more than one bottle of that wine. If you can, a minimum 3 bottles. More than that would be better. And put dates on the bottle when
Right.
you want to release or when you want to taste this
Yeah,
wine.
right, that's smart, right.
And taste it in that year, or taste it in that month, whatever time scale you're using, and taste it. See how the wine's progressed. Maybe make a note if
Sure.
you feel like it.
Right.
If you don't want to get geeky about it, don't make a note.
Everybody watching this wants to get geeky.
Let's get our geek on.
That's right.
So
And I've heard that too. A lot of people, buying a couple bottles for now, a couple bottles for a couple years later, and then a couple bottles for the long run.
That's right.
And opening that up. A lot of people, when their kids are older, they want to hold it, experience it with them, or whatever the case is. But definitely tasting it throughout. Such a smart thing to do. Something that I haven't really done.
it's hard because first of all, there's main things. Money,
Sure.
number one. It costs a lot of money.
Wine's not cheap, yeah.
Yeah. And number 2, space.
Right.
If you want to have 100 bottles of wine in your cellar, 100 varieties or 100 brands in your cellar, and you're doing a case of each, do the math.
Right.
Like that's a lot of wine to
Yeah.
have. And if you don't have the space for it,
Yeah. Well, 3 bottles would do, like you said.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
One
3
now,
bottles.
one in a few years, and one for the long haul. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's good. I don't know if I've tasted the wine. I can't remember. That's
This is not the first wine we've had. He's already having memory loss.
Again, the body is great. If I could come away with something really consistent today, was all the body in these wines are medium to full body. even full body, really, wines. The finish is great. The tannic structure is incredible. Again, I guess that goes to the winemaker, right? You have to be a talented winemaker to make talented wine. All incredibly balanced, beautiful wines. And the price points for these wines, I don't think they're that much. Like you said, 15, 20 bucks. And
the Syrah, I think the Syrah is the most expensive.
25.
It's 25, yeah.
And even that is really the average price that you pay for at the LCBO for
Absolutely,
Syrah around the world, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of, we're very price conscious here. You know, we don't want to price ourselves out of the market,
right.
For one. We don't, we also don't want to lose our shirts. So we're very price conscious on how we price. And I'm not saying that other people aren't, but I think that we have a real, if I can get political,
sure,
we have a real challenge to price our wines competitively with imported wines because of our tax structure here.
Sure. Cheers.
Cheers.